You're listening to episode 43, Ashlyn's Story, A Son with VACTERL Association. Hi, and welcome to the Child Life On Call podcast. When your child is sick, the whole world seems to stop in its tracks. Plans and priorities change, and your number one job becomes figuring out how to get your child well again. For some of us, rest, medications, and relaxation can do the trick. But for others, it takes more. It takes countless doctor appointments, invasive medical testing, therapy, surgeries, the list goes on, and then you still may not have all of the answers or results you were hoping for. This podcast features parents of children that have an illness or medical condition and gives them a place to share their own journeys and experiences. We will talk about the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, but one thing seems to remain the same. Children are resilient and teach us more about ourselves and the world than we could ever imagine. Thank you so much for lending a listening ear and opening up your heart to these families and this podcast. I'm your host, Katie Taylor.
He told me, and, he was just like, no matter what, Myles is our son and I'm his mother. And we're going to give him the best life, no matter what.
Hello, and welcome to the Child Life On Call podcast. Thank you for tuning in to Ashlyn's story today. Before we get started, please make sure you're subscribed to Child Life On Call podcast and follow along with us on Instagram and Facebook so you can hear what's happening within our community and with our families and when we have new podcast episodes. Okay, now to Ashlyn. I met this wonderful woman through Instagram and was instantly drawn to her authenticity and beautiful smile. As a self-proclaimed planner, Ashlyn talks about the difficulties of having so many unknowns during her pregnancy, which included numerous tests without clear results and so much waiting for answers. She talks about her journey to acceptance, dealing with depression, and the real feelings associated with having a child with limb difference and other special needs. And one of my favorite parts of my discussion with Ashlyn is the way she talks about the true power of partnership that she has with her husband. It's pretty incredible. Listening to Ashlyn speak her truth and share her experience is a complete honor. And the fact that she is sharing it with us on this podcast shows the strength and vulnerability and amazingness that this incredible woman is. And it is not lost on me at all that she is sharing this with us right now. So make sure you listen to the entire thing because she has so many important things to say. Let's get started.
My name is Ashlyn Outlaw. I get my cool name from my husband, obviously. Everybody is just like, wow, your last name. I'm like, I didn't do it. It's my husband. I'm 28 years old. I'm originally from Kokomo, Indiana, but we currently live in Smyrna, Georgia, which is about 15 minutes north of Atlanta.
Okay.
And we've been married, me and my husband, Michael, we've been married for about 3 years now. And we have a 1-year-old son, which is pretty crazy. I can't believe I've been doing it for a year now.
Yeah, it goes fast.
Yeah. So our son is 1. He just turned 1 the beginning of July, and his name is Myles.
And I love it because you can't read this because this is an audio podcast, but Myles is Myles and Michael is Mychal. And I love that little coordination they have between each other. Well, talk to us a little bit about kind of Myles and why we're here today. And I guess we'll start with your pregnancy and how that all started out.
Yeah. So, my pregnancy for in the beginning, it was pretty normal. We did all the regular checkups and the testing came back normal. And which I didn't know was, different was I didn't really feel him that much moving. I guess around the time when you're supposed to feel the baby moving, I didn't have anything to compare it to because he's my first. So,
right.
I didn't think anything of it, but in the beginning, I didn't really feel him moving that much. And then throughout the pregnancy, I didn't really feel him moving a lot. And then it made sense when he was born. But it was around 20 weeks when we went in for our anatomy ultrasound. So when they do like all the measuring and stuff like that, and you get to find out your gender. And it was that appointment when we, I guess that's when we kind of found out there was some concerns. So after that appointment, we received a call saying that we needed to come back in to get some better pictures or better images. And it was very vague. It had to do with like his positioning or they were assuming it had to do with his positioning, and that they needed to get some better images of his kidney and as well as his heart. So, they weren't able, to get like I guess really good pictures of his heart. And we were told that we needed to see a maternal and fetal specialist for this. So, and that was pretty, I don't know. It was kind of alarming, but then also we were kind of getting the feeling that, oh, these new images will just clear all this up. Like nothing,
Right.
It's not a big deal. We'll just go in and everything will be cleared up.
Yeah.
So, we did that. So we went to this appointment, and I think I was about 25 weeks in when we met with this specialist. And after he did his exam, he came back in and I don't know what it is about. I mean, I wasn't, I hadn't been going to a lot of doctors prior to being pregnant, but I don't know. He had like a demeanor of like, he was trying to play it cool. Like it was, in a way it was like, is something up and you're just not telling me?
Really? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was really strange, but, in a way it was, I do feel like our specialist tried to give us a lot of hope.
Okay.
So he came back in and he let us know his concerns. He said that he was still not seeing parts of the heart, as well as the kidney. And then he also said that he wasn't seeing like the end of the spine.
Okay.
So he first thought, to rule out my concerns, let's go with a genetics test, like the amniocentesis. I'm probably not saying that right.
No,
but
you are. That was perfect.
Okay, good. I've literally tried to practice it. So he said that he wanted us to do that test, which I thought was crazy because, they put the needle in your belly to get the fluid around the baby. And I was real dramatic. I was just like, what's happening? Like,
I would be too. It's a freaking needle in your stomach.
I mean, it was the craziest feeling. And my husband actually wasn't there. So I was even more dramatic.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and went through with the test because he was just, our doctor said it was the best way to rule out if there's any genetic concerns. So we went through with it, and it was probably about a week when we received those results back, and those results came back normal, which was a relief, but it was just like, now what?
Right. What's next?
Yeah, because there was still some concerns around the heart, the kidney, the spine. I mean, there was all these concerns, but, we still weren't getting any real answers.
Right.
So after that test, our specialist then referred us to a fetal cardiologist, and he suggested that we get a fetal MRI done.
Okay.
And we did. So
is that like all of these specialists and all that, are they close to where you guys live? I'm imagining all of these appointments probably were inconvenient or.
It was definitely an appointment overload. And I think the most annoying part about it was just the time frame of waiting for these results.
Yeah.
It was just like, I just had this done and now I have to wait, X amount of weeks for it to get back. So in the middle of waiting, it's just like your mind is just like,
oh, totally.
You've already diagnosed your child
Yeah.
at that point.
Well, it's like literally the rest of your life is dependent
Yeah,
upon these results. Like by no like stretch, that's literally what these results hold.
right. So we were going, I mean, we really only had to, we met with our specialists, every so often. And then we met with the, fetal cardiologist first. And right away we got those results back. So I'm assuming you don't get your results back when it's questionable. But when everything is fine, they come in, they're like, I have nothing but great news. And that's how
Yeah.
it went with the heart. We were super anxious about that appointment, and she came in and she said everything checked out fine. But then when we went for our MRI, that appointment, it was really strange, because it was like, they're behind the screen and they're looking at all these images. And of course, when we get done with the MRI, I want to speak to someone. I
Right.
want to,
You're like, you're looking at it right now.
Yeah. Like I want to know what you see.
Yeah.
And it was, oh, the doctor has to review it. We'll have to get back to you, but here's a CD for you guys to go home and try to navigate through on your own.
Wow.
So yeah, which we did try to do.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it made things better. I mean, we brought this CD home, and then we quickly realized that we didn't have a DVD player.
I was about to say, like, how do we even look at CDs anymore?
I know. We were like, wait, we don't have anything to look at this with.
Yeah.
So here we are in our local library, looking at these images, and I can remember me and my husband just like, you know what, that looks like an arm. That looks like a hand. That, just trying to give ourselves some type of hope, I guess. And
Right.
really just trying to like, you know what, it's going to be fine. Like, it's going to be just like and me and my husband would often do this. Like we would go to an appointment and we'd say things like, oh, they're just going to come in and say, you guys, you know what? You're not supposed to be here. Go home. Everything is fine. I don't even know why they referred you to us.
Yeah.
But, and we actually didn't get the results from the fetal MRI back until I was about 36 weeks.
That's crazy. So that's over 2 months.
I know. So
wow.
It was, and that appointment, and I don't know, I don't know if I'm like rambling now, but,
no, you're good.
Okay. But that appointment, so at that point I was like calling and calling, before the 36 weeks. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, do I need to change specialists? Like, what's going on? Cause there was just so many, it was getting really weird at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it had anything to do with them just trying to avoid telling me what was going on. I just think that, they're doctors and they see this stuff all the time. They do this stuff all the time. And for us, it's like, I need to know now, today, right now.
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
I feel like I would be doing the exact same thing you did. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I was crazy for
a
long period of time. So after we finally got the results, we were told that we had to go see, I think it was a neonatal doctor, which I don't even know why we had to go to him to talk about what we could have talked about with I don't really know the point of the specialist if he wasn't going to explain it. But, so we went to this appointment and, we're in this like meeting room. The doctor was like, is it fine if we just go to the meeting room? And I was like, yeah, totally fine. Like, just let's get down to it.
Yeah.
And that was the appointment when we really realized that like what was going on. And up until that time, I don't think me and my husband really had, I don't think, not that we didn't know anything was going on, but I don't think we were really accepting that things were happening. And this man, he sat there, and I can remember him talking about, what was going on with his kidney, GI. He did tell us about Myles having clubbed feet, his legs measuring off. And then he told us about his arms. And I think at that point I was just like, wait, what? Like, I can remember being in that, and I don't even think I cried in the meeting. I think I was like literally like in shock, like,
right.
Because it felt like the list was going on and on and on. And then he just hit us at the end of the list. It was like, and also he was like, it appears your son's arms or your son's hands are ending at the elbow. And, in my mind, I'm like, but I saw an arm on that video. Like, are you sure? Like, I saw an arm, I saw a hand. And of course I was just trying to see it. I don't even really remember what I saw, because it's like abstract when you look at ultrasounds to me.
Right. No, same to me.
And yeah, so I mean, I really didn't know what I was looking at, but he told us, he was like, it appears that your son's hands are stopping at the elbow. And, I can remember my husband like being really all into the conversation, like, trying to understand, like, well, does the note say when the specialist saw this? He was like, he was really trying to get information on like when was this all decided that this was what was happening? Like,
right.
Because
it's not like they just got the notes yesterday that,
right.
Yeah.
So, that was probably the meeting where we stop, not necessarily stop having hope, but that was probably the meeting or the appointment where all of the things that we were hoping to happen, it was just like, okay, here we are now.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening. And now we need to prepare ourselves for in a couple of weeks, because I had him at 39 weeks, and we just found out, like, for real what was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that meeting, it was just kind of like a jaw dropper. Like, we were really kind of set back at that meeting.
And it sounds like, gosh, there's so much. I know I would have so much anger about, like, how long have you known this? And it's just,
Yes.
It's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, or like, I don't know. I would feel the same way you did.
Yeah, it was definitely anger, a lot of sadness, because it wasn't, we weren't getting any answers or anything, because a lot, most of it was, we have to wait till he gets here and then, assess whatever's going on then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it was even more, I mean, I guess he may have mentioned it, and I can't even really, honestly, I've zoned out on that appointment. But when Myles was born, I mean, it felt like the list was still going. But yeah, I was very much angry, and just, of course you ask the questions, why, or what, is it something that you guys saw in the pregnancy? Is it something that I did? Is it something that we could have prevented? And, you have all these questions, and still, we got the answer that, well, we can look, take the proper test and do the things that we need to do when he gets here. So
yeah,
that's what we had to do.
It's just, it's almost like they don't know exactly what's going on, and that's not really settling either. It's like, I guess that meeting, you had told me it was like around Mother's Day weekend. Is that right?
Yeah. So, I think it was the same week of Mother's Day because we were planning to go on our baby moon. Um, cause you have to do all the
All the
things that,
things.
um, all the things that they have listed for you to do when you're pregnant. So we had this trip, planned to go to Savannah, Georgia, which is like, I think it's like 2 hours from us. But it's a cute little town. A lot of Southern charm. But we had this trip plan, and I mean, I immediately wanted to cancel it. I wanted to stay in bed until he was
Yeah.
born, really, if I could have. Because I mean, really through the whole pregnancy, I don't really think I enjoyed it. And I was almost to the point where I was disconnected from it. And I regret it because it's like, I wish that I would have just enjoyed it, some way, but I was just, at this point, it was just like, almost like, what are we celebrating? How can we go to Savannah and still be happy and enjoy this? And, all these thoughts were going through my mind because it's like I just couldn't be happy. I didn't want to go and I didn't want to act like I was happy, but we did end up going still. And really what kind of made me still go was my husband. He came home that night. It was the same day as the appointment. And I think I took off the rest of the day, cause there was no way that I was going to be able to go into work. But he came home that night and he called me down, and, I can remember, walking down, and I was real pitiful, and, my husband had, a small box in his hand, and he was just talking. He was just like, he knew that today was really hard for us, and he knew that my mind was just wandering, and he said that he could barely even function at work. But I opened, the box, and it was a gold necklace, which I'm wearing now and I wear all the time. But it was a gold necklace, and it had Myles's name engraved on it. And he, I can just remember just like feeling, just like not a weight lifted, but just feeling almost just at ease, just like, because he was just, my husband, he just has a way, to settle, I don't know, just to settle me. And I wish I could I don't know. He says that I do it for him, but I don't think it's the same way that he does it for me. And I can remember just crying so hard, in his arms, and, just feeling exhausted. And he told me, and, he was just like, no matter what, Myles is our son and I'm his mother, and we're going to give him the best life no matter what. And I don't know how he does it, but it was just like, I just kind of took that breath and was just like, okay. And my husband all the time, like even before we became parents and our life changed, he always says, like, together we can do anything. And I really truly believe that because, me and him we've been partners, like real partners through this. Like before it was like cute, it wasn't, there wasn't too much going on. It was like your normal
Sure.
stuff. But I feel like, especially in that moment, like I knew that things were going to be okay. And not because of the gold necklace, but just because of who I was going to take on this journey. Like I was my husband, because I had my husband, I knew that things were going to be okay, because I do think we can do anything together. And I mean, we're doing it now, and I think we'll continue to do it. And, but yeah, I remember that, like, and it was the right moment. And of course he knew it was the right moment. And we did end up going to Savannah, and it was, I mean, we did a lot of talking, I did a lot of crying. And I think that was probably the first time that we talked about things that we probably avoided talking about in the past months. Just like, how it was really making us feel, and our thoughts on, what are we going to do now? And we're a very goal and a planning family or couple. And, I think that was the first time that we realized, like, we gotta stop looking into we have to stop looking so far into the future, because at this point it's like, we don't know. And it's not gonna be, you think about all the things you want your child to do, and you think about all the things you want to plan for them, and that's just not where we were at. We weren't at that point anymore. Not in your traditional way, I guess. So yeah, that the vacation or the getaway, I mean, we just kind of spent it just really talking about just how we were feeling. And we did some laughing too, which was surprising. And we had a really good weekend until we had to come back and kind of face it all again. So
with a renewed kind of partnership.
Yes, definitely. Yes. I think this whole thing has done so much for me and my husband. I mean, it's taken our marriage, just we've only been married for 3 years. I mean, we've been together, it feels like forever, but I mean, it's really, I guess the good part about it is that it's really done a lot for our marriage. Because I know that it could have, broke us.
Yeah, it's easy to see how anyone could break kind of going through a situation like that. So when you come out stronger because of it,
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely sounds like you guys have a partnership that supports each other.
Yes, definitely.
So I guess it was just a few weeks later that he was born. And what was it like when you got to meet little Myles?
Well, it was, and I don't know, it was a different feeling. I think, so when he was born, so I delivered, through C-section. And I can remember, so I had to go to the waiting room. They showed us him. They swallowed him up, swaddled him up. And, I can remember, my husband, I was laying there and my husband just looking over, and the nurse was like, "Oh, you can come over here, and see him." And I can just remember him kind of, put his hand over his mouth. And, I think I was just like, is he okay? Is everything okay? Like, what's going on? 'Cause still, I don't know why. I mean, still, we thought just maybe things could be different. And I remember him putting his hand up to his mouth. And I was just like, is everything okay? He was like, yeah. He was like, everything's fine. He's here. He's healthy. Everything is fine. And they brought him over to me, and he was all swaddled up, and that was that. I seen him, and then they took him away to take him to the NICU.
And did they prepare you that would happen really fast like that?
Yeah, so they did tell us that he was going to have to go to the NICU. That was another part of the meeting that we had when he was just kind of going over all the notes from our specialists. They did tell us that they were going to have to take him into the NICU, and then potentially, depending on his condition, transfer him over to like the children's hospital, which they did. So we went to the room where you have to wait for the anesthesia or the epidural to wear off, and things like that. And my husband had a picture of, I don't know who took the picture that fast. I didn't even know they did that. But he had a picture of Myles, and up until then I didn't get to see him fully. I just seen him in his swaddle. And me and my husband we were in the waiting area, or not the waiting area, in the room. And I can just remember just like, looking at I actually couldn't really look at the picture, to be honest. My husband was looking at the picture, and he was just kind of, like kind of shaking his head, and he was just like I don't even know if we even said any words during that time. Like, I think we were completely silent. And I mean, I was literally numb, but it was a numbing feeling. Like, we were just like total loss of words, even though we were technically prepared for it. But we were still, for whatever reason, we were still just thinking, just maybe somebody got it wrong. And so after that, I went into my room, and my husband, went to where Myles was. And there's, my family came in, and, I don't even know I don't know if this was that night. I was delirious at this point, and I was on some really great drugs. And I can remember, I don't know if it was that night, but maybe that next day, I can remember my mom. So my mom and my mother-in-law were there, along with my other family. Like, everybody came because everybody wanted to be there. Thank God there wasn't a pandemic happening at that point. But I can remember my mom, I do think it was the next day, because I think they went over to the children's hospital to see him. So I still hadn't been able to see him. Since I had the C-section done, I had to stay and recover. So it was probably like, I probably didn't see him for at least 2 days. I think it was like 2. Yeah. Or 2 or 3, maybe not 3.
Yeah,
I don't know.
a long time.
It may have been like 2 days, because, you have to do all these things in order to get checked out.
Pee, walk, all those things that we take for granted when.
Yes. And I'm just like, are you serious right now? Like, my child is over at the children's hospital. So, but I remember my mom and my mother-in-law coming back over to my room, and they were just talking. They were like, oh my gosh, Ashlyn, like, he is just so sweet. He's so beautiful. And I think I remember somebody talking about his personality. And I think at that moment I was just like, are you serious? Yeah. And I think it was just because I had already disconnected from the pregnancy. So I didn't really feel that connection to Myles yet. because there was just so much going on throughout my pregnancy. I mean, majority of my pregnancy was just trying to figure out what was going on, instead of just enjoying it. And somebody was like, he's got, such a personality, or he's something. And I was just like, I think I was like, Mom, but did you see his arms? And I think I was looking for someone to be like, oh yeah, like it was almost like that was a dream. Like, no, everything is fine. Legs, arms, hands, everything is fine. And my mom, who I call Positive Patty, because she will turn any situation into a positive situation. My mom was just like, yes. She was like, yes, I seen his arms and they are working just fine. And I don't know how I felt. I'm pretty sure that comment annoyed me. And then after that, I was then determined to go see him. I didn't want anybody else to see him until I could see him and I could hold him. Like I could make it over there. And so before I was discharged, they did allow me to, because at one point I think I was like getting crazy, like nobody was going to be able to make me feel better about this until I was able to see him. So I was able to go over there and I finally got to see him. He was in the NICU. He was in one of those little boxes, little clear boxes.
That's exactly what they are.
Where you have to peek in and look at, your child. And I was able to hold him, and I just remember me and Michael just sitting there. We took our first family picture, and I think I was looking to connect. I was looking to have that moment, and I still was not having it. And I just held him, but it was almost like an outer body thing. Like it was like I wasn't even really there. Like it's like I had to see him, but I wasn't really there, if that makes sense. Like,
how can your brain process
and we
all
just
of
sat
that?
there.
It's just, it doesn't.
Yeah. I was sitting there and almost I was like, how do I do this? Like, I can't really, before Myles, I can't really remember the last time I held a baby. And it almost just felt like, one, this isn't real. And two, am I really his mom? And can I really do this? Like, cause people say it comes naturally, and it was not coming naturally for me at that moment.
I hate that. I hate that phrase. Breastfeeding comes naturally. This is natural. Yeah. It's like none of it feels that way.
No, it doesn't feel natural. And then I was finally discharged, from the hospital. And then that's when we started going to see him at the NICU. That was literally across the street from the hospital. And we were in the NICU for about a month with him. He had 2 surgeries, or maybe it was one. Yeah, he had 1 surgery, and that was for his colostomy bag. So we were there for, about a month. And really that month it was almost like we were in a little bubble. It was a routine. We went to the NICU every day. We stayed until probably 9. And we were in and out of that hospital, all day, every day for a month.
Like home away from home that you don't want to be.
Yes, definitely.
So, I guess, when did you get the official diagnosis, or whatever they're calling his kind of collection of symptoms? When did that happen?
So I didn't, the VACTERL was mentioned early on, but it was never confirmed. It was like, oh, we have to do all of this stuff to confirm it, because you have to have 3 characteristics, because it's an acronym, but you have to have 3 characteristics of the condition, or, they call it an association. It's really confusing, but, we didn't get the diagnosis until after we did genetics testing, like where we all gave blood. And still nothing came back for me or my husband. So there's really no rhyme or reason to why these things happened. But we didn't get the official diagnosis until after the genetics, and they were just like, okay, it is VACTERL. After all the testing, even though we already knew it was VACTERL.
So, can you talk to us about, I guess, bringing Myles home and what being his mom has been like?
Yeah. So, when we brought him home, it was actually around my husband's birthday, his 30th birthday. So we brought him home. And really, I really think that I fell into just, I think it was a little bit of postpartum depression, but then also just like straight up depression. We brought him home, you know, we basically stayed home. We didn't really go very many places, because I guess I was looking to, I don't know, like I was looking to continue the connection that I felt like I didn't really have when I was pregnant. And which I immediately got it once the more, you know, every day and the longer, obviously he was with us all the time, but I think it was more so how I was feeling personally. But we brought him home, and, you know, we still had no idea what we were doing. We had a lot of things that we had to do for him, like the colostomy bag. We had to go to so many doctor's appointments, because they say the earlier the better. So that's exactly what we did. My husband, he eventually had to go back to work because somebody has to work. And I stayed home, and I was actually still working, but I was working from home. But I didn't go back to work until like October, I think, or September, I think. But we really just stayed in that same bubble that we had created in the NICU, to be honest. I was still, I don't know, like I quickly fell into a hole. It felt like, it was like I could be his mom, and I was happy with him. I wanted to do all the mom things, the new mom things, but the other side was I was still angry. I was still sad. I still wanted answers. I was looking for something to feel just normal, I guess. And, I was to the point where like I really could not even leave the house. Like I remember trying to go to the grocery store one time, and I couldn't even get out of my car. I would cry just seeing other kids. And, and I hated it because, and it wasn't that I was ashamed or anything, because I mean, I literally adore that child, but it's just like that longing of wanting things to be different so bad. And, I just couldn't, I was not at a point where I could just face the everyday reality. And I can remember my husband just like telling me, cause I could see him getting out of he wasn't really in depression or anything, but I could see him getting better every
Yeah.
day. And I think I kind of looked at him like, well, why are you okay with
Yeah.
this? And and I'm still over here
Yeah.
sad. So I can remember him saying like, I've decided that I'm choosing to think differently. I'm choosing to be happy, and I'm letting go of, what I thought should have happened. And I literally, I mean, it took a lot of praying, a lot of praying. Even if I didn't even have the
Yeah.
words, it took a lot of just being like changing my mindset and like putting myself in that headspace that I was going to think and feel differently, because I was to the point where I was going to be no good for, anybody. And, my husband, like I said, he just, even though I was really upset that he was doing better, he also motivated me to want to get up out of that
Wow.
hole.
Yeah.
And, I was tired of being envious and, every time I go outside or on social media, I'm looking and longing for these things that other moms and parents that are doing. And it was no good. So, I really just had to do a lot of reflecting and change my mindset and see what was in front of me. And that was, my family, my son, who was doing way more than I thought he could, even at a really, really young age. I mean, from the start, he surpassed what I thought he could do, because, before, when we didn't know anything, we put a ton of limitations on him, because that's just what we know. And, every day with him, every day, seeing him, make new, we call them
Oh.
milestones. Every day, just seeing him just surpass my wildest dreams. It slowly pulled me out. I started finding peace. I started finding strength. And I don't know,
Ashlyn, you are such a strong woman
it,
to pull yourself out of that. I mean, it just is amazing. And how you're able to, articulate it right now, like the depth of what you were and where you are now. It's truly an honor to be able to listen to you talk about this, because I don't think that
thank you.
I don't think that you're alone. I think that there are lots of parents who grieve, like seriously grieve, even without a death.
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
the dreams of a future, and then having to completely change your mindset and pull yourself out is extraordinary.
Yeah. And that's exactly what, and I mean, it wasn't like just one day I woke up and
Yeah.
was like, okay, let's be
Right.
happy. I mean, I mean, even now I just have to, I have to make the effort every day, to, and I don't even know if it's so much to getting back to who I was, because I don't think I'm ever going to be the same person. This experience in Myles has changed me forever, but, I do see the growth, and I do see, how much better it is for me personally, for Myles, for my husband. And that's what I want. And I know that that's what it's going to take in order to get Myles to his next milestone. And, I was just tired of singing that same song.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be better than what I was, during that time. So
I know that you've been kind of vocal on social media and showing pictures and all that. I'm just wondering about some of the other connections that you've made with other parents, or what has helped you in doing that, and what you kind of found to help process some of the stuff you guys are going through.
Yeah. So, well, before I wasn't really on social media, and I really wasn't, even before Myles, I wasn't really that active like that. But I don't even know what made me decide, but I think one day I just made my page open, instead of private. And, I think my first post, that I made was just, just kind of putting it out there. And I found that just talking about it, because I was journaling, but I wasn't really keeping up with it. I would journal in a notebook or on my phone. And then I made a I think it was like my first post about Myles. And then I decided to open my page, and that's when I started, finding other moms. And then also I was receiving messages from other moms. And then slowly I started receiving more messages, from moms. I have met some moms that have children with VACTERL, and then others that may just have like limb differences, or, just any kind of condition going on. And it was really kind of crazy, to be honest, because I did not think that, I didn't expect for anybody to reach out, really. Because I guess in my mind, I don't have it all together. And this time last year, I didn't think I was ever going to be in a place to help anybody. But I mean, it's definitely, given me, hope, because I've talked to other moms who have older children that have VACTERL. And then also just finding other moms who are just, really killing it. Like, they are doing so much, for their child, no matter what the situation is. And I see them, and I want to be that for Myles. I don't know if I'm looking to have like some platform or anything like that, but I know that the more awareness that I send out, and the more that I educate myself, the better I can be for Myles, for when he does understand the world around him. And because there's still so much unknown to all of these things that are going on with him, internally and, physically. And I just, I want to be in a place, I don't want to be who I was last year, because it's just, I want to give, which any mom, any parent, I want to be a better version of myself. So I can, take on the world with him. And, these moms that have reached out, they've talked about how, our family is an inspiration, and how Myles is an inspiration. And he is, I mean, he literally inspires me every day. And I just feel so blessed, because I know that, I was probably too far into my depression, where I didn't know to look for other moms. I guess I didn't want to look for other moms, because in my mind, I was the only one going through this. But I just think, I feel so blessed that, there are moms that are looking and reaching out, and that they can find, either someone like me or someone else to encourage them, because, there's no manual on how to do any of this. I mean, let alone being just a mom, but how to deal when, like you said, how to deal with things when it's not exactly how you plan, all the things you see, what you're supposed to do when you're pregnant and you have your child, when things don't go exactly the way that they've gone for other people, there is no manual to it. And I just think this community that I've found, they have really been an inspiration to me, and I feel really grateful and that I am in a better place now so that I can help somebody that may be in a place that, similar to where I was last year.
It's all kind of like the peaks and valleys, and we all go through it, and, finding people that can actually understand some of your peaks and valleys, and not exactly what it is, but just any kind of connection with somebody else. For some reason, it does do something. Like it takes the isolation out of it. It's like, okay, well, they got through it and I can too. And
yes, definitely.
Well, if you can describe what Myles has kind of taught you since he came into your life, what would it be?
I would definitely say, patience. Like I said, I am a planning person, and my husband's very goal driven, but, he's definitely, taught me like real patience. Not like I'll have patience, but still, think I'm in control. Because in the beginning, I was thinking like, okay, we got to do this, 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 and this. And if we do this, things will be fine. And it just doesn't work like that. We literally have to take it day by day. And no day is the same. Because, we have different doctor's appointments. There's different expectations. There's a new plan. There's things change all the time. And I've just learned that, I have to have patience, and I have to let him figure things out. I have to let him grow. I have to let him do the things that are going to work best for him. And I have to realize that I'm not always going to have the answers. And that I have to be okay with that. And I think I learned that early on, because this boy is so determined. And I just, I hope that he keeps that determination, and I hope that I can, continue to allow him to do it, and I promote it, and because that's what we've seen that works for him.
Isn't it so crazy how these little humans can just like inspire us? We talk about being inspired by other women and other people going through situations, and it's like these tiny little humans who don't even know how the world works yet, just are literally living, breathing examples of the way to live life, and just push through obstacles and cry when you need to, and all those things.
Right.
And I also think it's so interesting it's really too, crazy. Because the word that you chose that he taught you is patience. And it's like you go back to that initial 9-week wait after your functional or your fetal MRI. It's like even at the beginning, he was preparing you for this patience you're going to develop.
And I had no idea, but you're right. He was preparing me, and here we are, 1 year old, and I'm still trying to remember to have patience, but I've figured out that that's what I need.
And so what is Myles up to these days while y'all are hanging out in quarantine? What makes him happy?
So he is very much a happy baby. He's a mama's boy. I don't know if it's just because I'm home all day, every
It's
day with
because he's
him. We're just
smart.
in each other's faces. Yeah, this is true. You're right. He knows better. But he is, right now, our biggest goal is to try to get him to walk. Some children with VACTERL, they talk about prosthetics and things like that, but Myles had early on signs that, he could use his legs. Like there's certain things or signs in your development of your legs that say like, okay, you could potentially walk. So, right now that's what we're doing. We're all day in the walker trying to, get him to come to his favorite snack or his favorite toy. And right now he's only walking backwards, but it's progress.
Wow.
So I think it's still a win.
Well, it's the last episode Dominique was talking about the little Post-it note challenge. I like that. That's kind of interesting. Follow the Post-it notes. It's nice and cheap.
well, anything that we can just get him moving forward, that's what we'll do. So that's really what we've been doing trying to get him on his feet, bear weight, and really just wait all day. I've never cooked so much in my entire life. I've never cleaned or done so many dishes, but other than that, we just wait all day for daddy to get home so I can clock out.
I got you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or anything, that you didn't feel like you got to say that you'd like other parents, who are going through something similar to know?
I guess I'm still trying to figure out a lot of it myself, but I guess I would just say definitely have patience. And I know if I would have heard this, last year, I'd been like, here you go. But it's so true. To have patience and, once when, their child gets into therapy, like really have a real relationship with them, not like talking to them all the time, but just make sure you're on the same page of what you're looking for your child to do, like the things that you see that your child is doing at home. Make sure you tell the therapist, the OT, PT, so that they can help you get to the next milestone. Cause all day I feel like I'm researching something, to help towards his development, and growth. And I take it to them, and sometimes there's resources out there that they know about, but they may not think about it because, during your appointment, you're doing splints and things like that. But definitely lean on your therapist and stay on stretches, even though they're so annoying. Stay with your stretches and your, the therapy as much as you can, but also just, enjoy every day. I have to literally remind myself, like, I got to take it day by day, or else I'm going to miss all this good stuff, that's happening. All these little things that are happening, I'm going to miss it if I keep trying to keep up with it.
Ashlyn, thank you so much for sharing your story. The truths you shared today will no doubt resonate with other parents who can't even find the words to say most of the time, but being able to hear what you have to say will no doubt make them feel less alone and that they've had similar feelings too. It was a complete honor to be able to interview you, so thank you so much. Please share this episode and podcast with other parents you think might benefit from hearing Ashlyn's story. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.